Talks will continue today in Brussels between the EU's chief negotiator Michel Barnier and his UK counterpart Lord Frost. But Boris Johnson has warned that it is far from certain that Britain will manage to get a post-Brexit trade deal with Brussels in time for the end of the year, with signs of an impasse in three key areas including state aid, the level playing field and fishing. Brexit deal far from certain, says Boris, as Brussels still won't move on fish. European Commission spokesman Eric Mamer said, "What is clear is that we continue to negotiate intensively with our UK partners and we aim, obviously, to find a deal when the conditions will be there. We are not going to give a blow-by-blow account of what negotiators are working towards." French officials representing President Emmanuel Macron have suggested the shock of a no deal, especially on fishing, could have an immediate devastating effect on the industry. They stressed fishing is particularly sensitive in France, as nearly 30% of the EU's hexagonal fishing is carried out there. One French diplomat said, "The priority for the French is to have the lowest possible impact to keep access to English territorial waters." They added this meant Michel Barnier had to represent the interests of all major EU coastal states, especially France, effectively. But a Whitehall official close to the negotiations told, "We're determined to reach a reasonable deal which respects UK sovereignty, we're not giving in to French demands." EU Commission accounts seen by Express.co.uk also suggest the European fish industry mobilises around 107,000 jobs in fishing, 80,000 in aquaculture and 100,000 in processing. According to the accounts, this generates £3.3 billion in turnover per year. 12:45 p.m. update, Tony Abbott claims there is eagerness for a trade deal. Former Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott has said there is an eagerness on both sides to secure a UK-Australia free trade deal before Christmas. Mr. Abbott, who now acts as an advisor to the UK Board of Trade, said they hope to get a deal with no tariffs and no quotas as quickly as we can. 12 p.m. update, EU in last moments to secure a trade deal. Britain and the European Union are in the last moments to reach a trade deal that would regulate their relationship after Britain's transition period ends on Jan 1, 2021, the EU's Trade Commissioner Valdis Dombrovskis said earlier today. Dombrovskis would not speculate about any deadlines for ending the trade talks, saying the only deadline that could not be moved was Jan 1, 2021, when Britain's transition period after its exit from the EU earlier this year ends. 11:15 a.m. update, Fisheries boss speaks out. Speaking about the current Brexit talks, Secretary-General of the Regional Committee for Maritime Fisheries and Marine Breeding in Brittany Jacques Daudet, said, "It's still too early to say that there will be no agreement. It should not be excluded that they will succeed even at the last minute. Everything is possible." 10:30 a.m. update, landmark flight deal agreed. The UK and the US have agreed that commercial flights between the countries can continue after the Brexit transition period ends, the Department for Transport, DfT, has announced. Transport Secretary Grant Shapps signed a new bilateral air services agreement to secure the deal. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo signed on behalf of the US. Flights between the UK and the US currently operate under an agreement between the European Union and the US, but the transition period ends on December 31. 9:45 a.m. update, UK should follow Norway's lead on fishing stocks. British fishermen should follow Norway's practice of landing at least 80% of fish stocks in UK waters as it prepares to take back control from the EU. A study from the University of Highlands and Islands National Marine Unit backed by a fishing chief shows Britain should copy Norway's approach in taking back control from January 2021. Norway, which controls its own waters, is believed to land 84% of the fish and shellfish caught in its waters, while for Iceland the figure is 95%. 9 a.m. update, EU officials to update bloc on UK talks on Friday. EU negotiators are due to update envoys of the bloc's 27 member states on the latest in trade talks with Britain at 0700 GMT on Friday, two EU diplomatic sources have said. Brexit update has been added to the agenda of EU Brussels ambassadors meeting, but the sources said the negotiating team of Michel Barnier could still cancel the closed-door briefing depending on how talks with the UK are going. 8:15 a.m. update, trade deal in the balance, Sharma hints. Britain hopes to get a Brexit trade deal, but the European Union must understand that it is now dealing with a sovereign nation, Business Secretary Alok Sharma said this morning. He said, "I hope that we will end up with a free trade agreement. We have made progress, but there is still some way to go, and we need to make sure that the EU understands that the UK is a sovereign nation, and that's the basis on which our arrangement with the EU is in the future." 7:30 a.m. update, security warning in event of a no-deal Brexit. Losing access to criminal databases under a no-deal Brexit would have a major operational impact for police, senior officers have warned. The UK could face a security downgrade in January if there is no negotiated outcome on a Brexit deal in the next few weeks, according to the Commons Home Affairs Committee. Committee Chairman Yvette Cooper cited extremely serious and troubling letters she had received from the National Crime Agency, NCA, and the National Police Chiefs Council, NPCC, on the subject.